Hey, what's up? This is your boy Dramatic, and today I have a friend of mine that I've known since the ninth grade, and we were probably two of the smallest kids in our entire freaking school. I think I was a whole 4'11". This guy might have been 5 feet tall, but he had an inch on me. He grew upward, I grew outward. It is what it is, right? But he's a good friend of mine. I've known him, like I said, for many years. He's dabbled in a little bit of everything. He is a doer, not a talker. One of the most motivated individuals I've ever known. Knows a little bit of everything. He's a good photographer. Uh, I don't want to pump him up too much, but go
Yeah,
ahead, Casey.
we didn't talk about you making me blush before.
Yeah, it just says what it is. So,
Yes, we did.
Casey, why don't you tell him a little bit about yourself and let him know who you are?
Yeah. No, I just guy from Olympia,
Yeah.
honestly.
And have you lived here your whole life?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I could say that up until about 4 years ago, and then I started traveling, and things got real
But you were
crazy.
born here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. As most people know, or this is like the first episode, so I guess people don't know, but we are trying to intrigue people with just American stories, stuff that people that from around here have gone through. I guess it doesn't really matter where you're from, but we do want household stories that are unique to each individual. We want everybody to have their own. I mean, like I said, I've had many people hit me up about the podcast already saying, interesting is subjective. And I agree, it is. It is. But I will promise you this much. After my boy Casey's done talking here, uh, you'll see interesting is subjective, but he's got a crazy story to tell. So why don't you take it back to the beginning, Case, and kind of tell us, you know, where you were born, how you got here, who you came from, and why you stand here today.
So I was adopted. I was born in Tacoma, Washington. My birth mother, I believe, lived in Tacoma, Washington, and I was born up there. Dropped up at the hospital by a lovely lady that was had severe drug problems, and so she could not take care of me in the hospital. Actually, I found this out from my mom last night because I didn't want to be telling any information that wasn't true, and so I found that the hospital actually said your child is not in very good health right now, and we're not going to let you walk out of here with him. And so she obviously was not taking very good care of me. She had severe addiction problems from, I guess, the little that we know.
So when your mother went to the hospital with you and gave birth, it was then that they decided
Yeah.
that.
No, no, no. They had brought me back in
Oh, okay.
because of something. I had a really bad ear infection, I
Yeah.
guess my mom said. And so they brought me back in and they were like, no, this kid is not in good health, and probably
Hmm.
saw the mom didn't look very healthy herself. So,
Mm. So born in Tacoma to a mom that wasn't in such good shape at the time. So
yeah,
you ended up being adopted by.
by two of the most amazing people on earth, my mom, Dina and Pat.
I've met them. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, they
Yep.
savers, and my mom says that I saved her too. My mom had a baby, and her baby died when she was just just a couple years old, and almost. I mean, she died of heart complications, and was basically dying in my mom's arms on the way to the hospital. And so, growing up with that, my mom having that story, it really kind of made a lot of stuff that I've gone through in life a lot easier, because I'm like, if my mom can make it through that, I can make it through anything. I've had best friends, Dan Ariza,
Hmm.
that didn't make it through it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it's like, my mom's been through a lot, and she says that I saved her life too. She adopted me on Mother's Day.
Oh,
So she said I saved her life on
that's
Mother's
awesome.
Day. Yeah. So,
Hmm.
yeah, she's an amazing lady. My dad's a very interesting individual. My dad's a big deadhead. He followed the dead around the world. When I
Hmm.
was a young child, I have memories of being shoved in front of the line. Me and my brother I have a very cool brother. My brother's name's Cody. Sister's name's Taya. We were all adopted, but Cody and I were shoved in front of lines by my dad when we were little because we were cute little kids
Mm-hmm.
to get all of his artwork signed, the Grateful Dead artwork and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm. And your dad still goes to Grateful Dead concerts and all that stuff
he
still,
still
right?
goes to shows, man.
Yeah.
75 years old, and
Yeah.
that boy is still partying.
That's a true Deadhead.
That's a true dad.
Yeah.
That's a true lover of life. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
you got to love life to be able to still be cracking it off at 75 years old.
Well, I remember going to your house in high school, and I love music, so I'd see all that music equipment and be like, "Damn, is your dad like a famous producer or something?" I didn't know what he had in that room. It was just a bunch of just music stuff,
Yeah,
you know?
he'd be a good one to have on the show too, man.
Yeah.
That guy's got some crazy stories.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
But yeah, yeah, so
So after you were adopted, you grew up here in Olympia, right?
yeah,
And you stayed around here all the way through high school.
yeah, yeah. When I was little, I mean, I basically went to Griffin, and so Griffin goes from kindergarten through eighth grade. And
Mm.
so it's kind of like keeps everybody real close and tight together. So I got friends that still, hands and tie that go back.
It was like its own world. Griffin
Yeah, we're
was
like
for sure.
almost 40-year-old friends. Yeah, I mean, we've been friends for almost 40 years
Hmm.
now. So it's like, it's kind of amazing, to be friends with people that long and go through that much stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And so growing up, you were always really into animals. I remember that about you.
Oh yeah.
And I remember being able to, I mean, you being able to pretty much spot any bird that flew by or whatever it was.
Hmm.
We kind of all of us that knew you would do something that had to do with animals at some point. So, um, did you go on to do any kind of stuff with that as far as like a living goes?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I started doing regular jobs and realized I could not work for somebody else because I'm just too go, go, go. I got too much energy, got too much. I kind of need to do things my own way. It was hard for me to, plus I love to work if it's something that I love to do. And so, uh, just decided, me and my best friend decided to open up a saltwater aquarium store, and I think that was like 2004. No, 10. I don't know. We should have talked about dates before this because we're going on my memory, and
Oh, it's okay.
that's never a good idea.
Just a basic timeline's nice. I mean,
Yeah,
because I know there's some more stuff that comes up after this. So, I mean,
yeah,
as
that
far as I
was
know, I don't even know what you were doing before the whole, you know,
just
pet thing.
yeah.
Um,
I
but I
was
know you did have, at some point, you owned like a pet store and had all that stuff going, right?
Yeah, and we opened a saltwater aquarium store that kind of evolved into a saltwater aquarium and reptile store. Everybody knew as Extreme Marine, uh, and it was amazing. It was a good learning lesson, especially because we went through 9/11. We went through, during while we had our store, and everybody stopped coming in. It was like nobody bought fish anymore. They only came in to get fish food, and so that was going through a depression. For our first business was a huge eye opener.
So you know I love snakes, right? That's one
Yeah,
thing everyone knows about me. I just love them to death. They're,
they're
they're
your
so
favorite.
friendly,
They're
yeah,
your
and they're so
favorite.
nice, right? So, uh, uh, I remember one time you telling me that you went to feed one of those big ass snakes at your job, and he thought that you had just fed the mice or something and didn't wash your hands or something, and that bad boy actually bit you in your bit your hand.
It didn't just bite. When you still got mouse on your hand,
Yeah.
they think food, and so he whack latched hold, but they don't let go either. And so you're sitting there trying to peel each little needle out of your hand, and they're trying to put them back in. And so it's one
Ugh.
of the most traumatizing things ever because it was a big snake.
Mhm.
I can't get him off. You can't pull because you're going to rip yourself to shreds,
Yeah.
and you just couldn't. I mean, they might even take your finger with it. So, I mean, they got so many teeth in those mouths, and so that was a huge eye opener. That was one of the biggest reasons why I stopped doing that. Getting bit by animals, getting bit by birds and snakes sucks.
Yeah.
It just straight sucks. They just go straight to the bone. Birds go straight to the bone. Snakes, they just a whole bunch of needles, and it just sucks.
I remember that you were fearless and didn't really care about that stuff, and I was always like, hell no. I remember you had that big ass bird eating spider at one point. And I was like, ugh, that thing away
No,
from me.
that thing was amazing. It would almost break the walls of a fish tank because when you throw a full-grown rat in there coming out at
You had the dwarf deer too. I mean,
it.
you
Yeah,
had some pretty crazy exotic stuff. The owl, and you had a little monkey at one point tried to kill you.
a
Right?
skunk. Oh yeah,
I remember that.
I will never do primates
I
again. That's
remember
for
you
sure.
telling me. Yeah, he had a. Actually, why don't you tell us that story? Tell us the whole monkey thing. He bought a little was it like a spider monkey.
Oh, I didn't buy it. No,
Was it?
it was called a greater lemur,
Uh huh.
and I rescued it from somebody who was mistreating it, and so I got it for free. That was what I was doing after the fish store. I evolved that into animal presentation business because all I had was animals, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? It's like kind of after the depression, whatever. So I actually went to my son's classroom and did a little animal presentation. They went nuts. And like the next day, a lot of kinder cares and mini schools picked me up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, holy moly, I kind of became the new animal guy real quick.
Yeah.
Um, but it was really cool. And yeah, I had rescued this lemur,
And you took it home, right?
took him home,
Mm-hmm.
um, getting him out of the little cat carrier that he came in because the lady said he was tame, of course. And so I got him out of the cat carrier, and look these things up. Google them. They look like little balls of Satan in a
Mm-hmm.
monkey's body. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
just horrifying looking little creatures. And I had no idea. I'm thinking bush baby. They call them, you know, they're called greater bush babies, is what they're called, not greater lemurs, greater bush babies. And so I had looked up bush baby, and I saw this cute little thing and didn't do close enough research. So out comes this thing, and he's sitting on my leg, and my pug comes trotting into the room, and the thing jumps off my leg and 15 feet from a standing position shoots over to my pug's face and just latches hold and I'm
Tries to
like,
kill your
I'm
dog.
like, oh my God, he's gonna kill my dog. And so I jump up and I grab the closest thing to me that won't hurt a little monkey, which is a towel, and I kind of whip him. Well, he turns around at me, and this is the look I got. He looks at me and he does this little warm up, and 15 feet from a standing position, he's on my face, going at me. I'm screaming like a very scared child. It was horrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I wouldn't know what to do
I
either.
get this thing off of me, and I'm like, oh my God. And I turn around and I'm running down the hall, and I look back, and it was like Neo in the Matrix. He was coming down, hitting walls, hitting the ceiling, coming right at me. And I literally made it to the bathroom, doors starting to close, and the arm comes in like a gremlin. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, long,
The
long
gremlin.
story short, I finally get this thing wrapped up, taken back up to this lady. I'm like, you're crazy. He's not tame. She's like, oh, I'll show you. She takes him out, and he rips the tips of her thumbs off right in front of me. I'm like, okay, you have fun with your tame monkey. I'm out of here.
And wasn't it like following you around the store?
Oh, do
Like,
you?
weren't you trying to
No,
like get
she,
away from it? And
yeah, because
she's
I'm
like,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. As she's taking it out, I'm like, ma'am, it's not tame, it's not tame. And she comes out and rips the tips of her thumbs off. And I'm like, oh my God, you have fun with your monkey. And turn around and things starts coming at me because he saw me, man. He just hated people,
Yeah,
but he didn't like the fact that I gave him a little.
yeah.
And so he remembered that, man. That,
He was out for blood.
but you primates are a very scary creature when they're pissed. It's amazing. They get this mean look on their face, and they just like a human, they're gonna kick your
I
ass.
knew it was bad when how freaked out you were because I've never known you be scared of like any animals. Like you're always fearless when it comes to animals. So when you were like telling me that story and how scared
I
you were,
still got
I
nightmares.
knew I knew it was bad because I'm like Casey's not scared of
I,
none
s-
of these
I
animals.
still have nightmares. Look it up online. I'm telling you. You'll have nightmares just looking at the picture of this thing.
That was a pretty funny story.
Yeah.
I'm glad I remembered to ask you that because that was hilarious. So after the whole animal journey, because that was definitely part of your like upbringing. You've always been an animal guy. We all knew you.
Not
We
part of
all
my
we
upbringing.
all
I did it
we all
self-taught.
knew that. Oh yeah, and
Nobody in my family
that's what I
liked
mean.
animals.
Yeah, I don't mean
My
it like
brother
that.
was a sports,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just mean
god.
like since I've known you,
Yeah, yeah. So
um,
I was all
you
self-taught.
were
I
always
was
into
addicted
that
to them.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just loved them, and I've always had this like strange sense that I'm supposed to be around them. And
Yeah.
then, like kind of here we go later on in life, and the owls are following me around.
You were like
I'm like,
Steve Irwin before Steve Irwin, right?
yeah, yeah, a
But
little bit, a little bit.
so,
During Steve Irwin, he was my
yeah,
idol.
during for sure. Yeah,
During his
R.I.P. Steve Irwin. But his kid's kicking ass now, though. And
They're amazing.
kids. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
awesome watching him just following his dad's footsteps. What was your next venture after all the animal stuff?
Oh yeah, because so that's when I had a back surgery,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and couldn't do really anything anymore, and so I spent a lot of time. Oh, that was so. Actually, the animal presentation business
Mm-hmm.
ended because that was when I was dating Christine,
Yeah.
and she had just got done with a bout of cancer,
Yeah.
Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Mm-hmm.
and then uh, she was at a picnic and had that bite from the pit bull.
I was at a picnic, huh?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, in front of a whole family. Pit bull came up, grabbed her by the cheek, ripped off her entire left cheek and bottom lip.
They like ate half her face off. That whole thing was just absolutely brutal. I was
Yeah.
scared of pit bulls for a minute after that, and
Oh, I still can't.
I'm not really scared of pit bulls. I've never been that guy, but after that, I'm not gonna lie,
No.
it kind of messed me a bit.
I walked. I remember walking into that room. First of all, the ambulance driver met me halfway as I was going into her emergency room because I didn't even know what had happened. I was thinking that her cancer was back.
Yeah,
I did. I didn't even have time to hear from anybody what had happened. I just went straight to the hospital. And I remember going around the corner, and it looked like, all I could see was like a skeleton face because when you don't have a cheek and you don't have a bottom lip to guard anything right there, all you see is almost like skull.
yeah,
And before I even walked in, the ambulance driver said, "Hey, there's one time in every ambulance driver's life that they have something that is seriously going to affect them forever, and this is mine, and I want you to know that." And I'm like, "What? It's cancer. What do you mean?" And pushed him aside, and I literally almost went into shock with what I saw. She's still, one of the strongest people I've ever met for what, the stuff that she went through. Uh,
oh yeah. I mean, I want to say shortly like before that or after, she like drove off a freaking cliff or something. Like out
yeah,
there,
we were, well,
pretty
Tony,
much, right?
we
Like,
were driving to my house, and we are all racing, and we went and made the corner, and she didn't, and went straight off right into a house.
jeez, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I remember she was going
you
through
got
it.
a way better memory than
A lot of great. Yeah, I remember a lot of
I do.
weird, random stuff.
But
That's what I'm good for.
I still drive by that house every day, and I
You
still
did?
see that freaking garage door non-existing.
Really?
It's like they just
Wow.
didn't replace it.
Yeah.
It's just boards now.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy times, man. I mean, that was. I hope she's doing good. I haven't seen her in a
She's
long
doing
time.
amazing
Good.
though.
Good.
She's doing incredible. She really is. She's yeah, school
Yeah.
doing she's surprised me.
Good.
So yeah,
Good for
hats
you,
off to
Christine.
her.
Yeah.
She's
Good for
amazing.
you. So now it's time to get to the interesting part of the story.
Interesting to you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, um, so everyone remembers when the whole 50, not even the 502 phase. We're talking about like straight medical phase, which was when dispensaries were first starting to make like I can't even say make noise. They were just people were trying to open them. The state was trying not to. It was like a big battle. Whether it was wasn't even the
It was
state. It was federally. Federally, they were having a problem with it. State wise, they were like, "Nah, go ahead." And so it was becoming like a,
the new prohibition.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It was
That's what they
becoming a
call it.
thing. And Casey here was part of that. Casey said one day that he was going to do this, and like I said at the beginning of the podcast, he's not a talker. So if Casey says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And he went ahead and opened up what I believe, to my knowledge, is the first one open.
They were the first the
You
crossings
know,
were the first ones. There was
yeah,
like we were one of the first ones with the, you know,
So your
we were
your
part of the group,
franchise, your
part of
your
the group.
group, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so he opened Lacey Cross. Lacey Cross ended up being actually pretty like kind of a staple around here as far as that went. They became one of the more bigger, popular ones that blew up fast. But Casey brought quite a bit of attention to himself from that, and then not only that, he was also speaking up, going to meetings and stuff like that, trying to speak up for, uh,
City council meetings
yeah,
and board
against
meetings.
all the councils to try and make this stuff happen, and because people wanted it, and a lot of people were trying to fight against it. So he became a voice for it, and he's pretty well known for that. A lot of people know that he did that, and there's a crazy story that comes along with all that. So why don't you tell us about your whole, you know, cannabis experience? I guess when you opened up the cross.
I think it's the one thing in my life that I learned some really hard lessons from. That if I could go back and change it and never do it, I would.
Yeah.
I would leave that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I still regret it every single day of my life. And just because, I think it's more of a personal experience for me. I was raised up to this position that I wasn't expecting to be in. Kind of this figure, this, like you said, kind of community figure that's doing this. But that's not the name that I kind of wanted for myself necessarily at that time. Being the guy that's, we had that video, How High is Too High to Drive, and that went so
Yeah.
viral. It was like
Yeah.
10 million hits in a matter of
I
weeks,
remember
dude.
you asked me to do that, and I said nope.
Dylan did it instead of
Dylan
you.
did, yeah.
Dude, that was so fun.
I
But
remember, yeah.
but yeah, dude, yeah, it just, being involved with the federal government was no place that I ever should have been. It was just like I I just wasn't cut out for that position. And so after the second raid, it took so much out of me, having guns shoved in my face for the third time because of the robbery. Um, Big guns, not regular guns, just big damn guns shoved in your face like that. For
Mm-hmm.
somebody like me, is so traumatizing. And then I think the worst thing was, seeing this stack of papers on a table and them saying, "You want to check this out?" And so I started reading through the papers, and it was every single step that I had made for the past year of my life. Uh, I mean, everything, talking about my son, but, they talked about whoever they were talking about in there, about these, kind of random people, but it was like my entire life laid out that they had been investigating me like I was Al Pacino or something.
And I'm not gonna lie, I got my own theory to that. I'll talk to you about it off camera. But it was kind of
Not Al
like,
Pacino, but you know what I mean.
hey,
Some
well, no, it kind of
gangster.
was like that. Like, it kind of got to a point where everyone kind of wanted something to do with it. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
even at
Yeah.
you would walk into Applebee's. I remember they'd treat you like a god in there.
Yeah.
And you're like, you hungry? And I'm like, yeah. And then like they'd throw you like, here, you can have these 2 meals that they're gonna give me for free because of who I am. They're all gonna throw this food at me, and it's insane. I was like, that's crazy. But I could tell at that point that people were very intrigued by this, and they thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
That's the thing.
You
They
know,
thought it was cool.
everyone thought it was
What I
cool.
remember about that was being able to talk to Rick Simpson, the actual Rick
Did you really?
Simpson. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he came up and told me about his products and stuff. And I was like, I need to get into doctors. So I was trying to get into doctors to see if I could be the guy that sat in with somebody that was having a terminal cancer meeting
Yeah,
because I had been through it.
yeah.
I hate those,
Mm-hmm.
Go in with somebody that could have a terminal cancer meeting and say, "Hey, I might have an option to make your life better."
Yeah.
It's just something to help. And then maybe there's a surprise that maybe that Rick Simpson oil could have done something even more than just
It's done some pretty amazing
it
things for
has,
people.
So
Hmm.
that was kind of what was on my mind. That was all that was on my mind. I was thinking about stuff like that. And the fact that it was becoming such a cool thing to be,
Yeah.
that's what took over. and
Hmm.
and before I even knew it. And then I'm sitting there kind of this chump kid, like not
Yeah.
not knowing what to do, not wanting to be, not want, that was fun when we were doing our concerts, because like
Yeah.
everybody knew me at that point, and we were like throwing out T-shirts from the cross, and it was like I felt like a celebrity at one point, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, and stepping back now, I hate it. You know.
A lot came from it. I mean, I would say, you know, I don't. When people get that kind of money and they assume that something like that comes so fast, I feel like you don't have time to prepare for it. And when you don't have time to prepare for something
Yeah.
like that, you don't know how to handle it because you don't. You're like, I didn't expect this to just happen like this. So maybe if you could have prepared it, had it all planned out, you're like, hey, when this happens, I'm going to be ready for this and this is going to happen. But we don't know that. And because we don't know that, you were kind of just, you were that guy,
I hadn't even gotten a chance to heal from my back surgery when they gave the first raid
Yeah.
to come in and they shoved their knee in my back to put me down, and it tore my back again, and
But
it's
wait,
like,
before we get to that part, because that's obviously part of this story. Did you get raided before or after the robbery? To me, they're both robberies.
I don't know, man. See, that's what I was gonna say.
But
Is as I just don't. I have no concept of time
yeah,
or
yeah.
any of that anymore. It's like the the robbery happened. Oh, it happened after, because I remember thinking,
Well, I had just left, and we were still doing rehearsals next door. I literally, it
or
happened.
no, it happened before. I think
Yeah,
it happened before.
had to have, right?
Yes, because
Yeah,
the thing is, I was like, if they were when they raided us, I remember
yeah.
thinking this: if they were watching us, why didn't they stop those guys? They saw that
Oh
robbery.
yeah,
They
yeah.
had to have seen that goddamn robbery. They were
Sure,
across the street watching everything.
sure. Yeah, that's creepy. But yeah, yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah, Case had some guys come in and tie him up and take his money and all that.
he shoved a shotgun in my face, and
That's right. Yeah, and then you open the safe. I mean, dude, what are you supposed to do? You tried not to though, right?
no, I
You
just
know?
I was shaking so bad that I
Yeah.
kept hitting the numbers twice, and I
Oh,
was way
okay.
taller than both of them, and
Yeah.
so I've been making them nervous anyways, and so they were trying to get me down on their level. I'm like, it just that's
Is that the
another.
first time you ever been through anything like that?
Oh my God, yes, just drawing the wrong attention, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So then after that, you kind of just went back to doing things as usual, right? Everything was going fine after that. And about how long after that? Because I remember when I was helping in my brother's medical place, I remember that undercovers were constantly coming in the shop
mhm.
trying to get in. And I was always like, no, you can't come in. They'd be like, come on, bro. Come on, just gonna have my ID, bro. Come on, man. I'd be like, no, you're not coming in here. Like they're always doing stings to try and catch us letting people in that weren't supposed to be in, or if you didn't have a card or your ID. So I was real strict about that. Like if I knew you and you were some old lady that came in every other day, I didn't give a shit. I was like, if you out your shit, you're not
Right.
coming in here.
I remember
You're
still
not coming in
now.
here. Yeah, yeah.
See,
So when I ran that, that's how I know a little bit about that stuff. Is
that's right.
because I was doing all that, but um, I would never let them in, but they were coming, and I knew who they were. The shops would talk to each other. You know what I mean? They'd say, "Hey, they're coming through. They're trying to get blah blah blah," and then that's how we would find out. So we would already know because the other shops down the road would be like, "Hey, cops just came in here.
I don't know, man. I wasn't that smart. I
They're gonna
seriously
try
don't
and
think that
come in there."
I
So
saw any of them, because it was like
yeah,
when I met them in court, it's like, oh, now I remember your faces.
yeah, yeah. So speaking of, that actually happened during the raid. Didn't you see a familiar face and he walked out because he was like, "Oh shit," right?
I don't
You
remember.
remember that? Yeah. So I remember you telling me that. Who else would have been there that I know? That was there anybody else that would have told me that story, or was it just you?
Uh,
Because I knew a couple people that worked
Josh,
there.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe I don't remember who it
I
was, but
just
he said that that guy had come in
Yeah.
undercover, and when they actually went to do the raid, he walked in and knew that you guys recognized him.
Oh,
He
so
knew.
now that you're saying that,
He
yeah.
said we knew his face, and so he turned around because he knew he was exposed, and he walked straight out. They said, and then I thought that was kind of crazy because he's like, oh shit, yeah, these guys know who I am. But so when all that went down, how did that happen? You just sitting there at work one day,
Oh, yeah.
and
And just, you can hear somebody kind of desperately coming in the door to say, hey, there's somebody coming in with guns, and then it's just like you're on your face,
yeah.
and then you're in a paddy wagon, and then you're down in jail. And you're like, wait. I,
But I remember you guys saying that the guy was so scared when he had the gun to your face that you were afraid he was going to accidentally shoot you because he was shaking.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I mean, the
I
cops,
heard the
they
cops were
involved
scared.
local cops,
Yeah, I heard the
and the
cops were
cops, those
scared.
cops didn't,
Yeah.
they didn't want to be shoving guns in our face.
Bunch of hippies at a weed shop.
Dude.
I mean, like,
Yeah. It was, yeah.
and so from there, you guys got raided. They shut you down.
Yeah.
You didn't like. So at that point, were you like, I'm never doing this shit again, or were
No,
you like, nah,
no,
hell
I
nah,
was
dude?
like, no, I wasn't. I didn't have that attitude of, no, hell no, I'm gonna
Yeah.
reopen. I had the attitude of, okay, I know why they shut me down here because they didn't shut everybody down. They let other people reopen, or we thought that they were we didn't know what was going on, but people were reopening and they weren't busting them, and we thought it was because we were right in town in Olympia, and the rules really were you needed to be out of city limits, so that's where I moved the next shop that
Yeah.
I thought was totally legal, and that didn't last long at all. And they came in, and instead of, yeah,
How long were you there at that one?
I think
You were on the water,
3 months.
right? You were on the like
I don't, like I
the bay.
said, dude. Yeah, like I said, it was like that's when I had the boat. I had bought a boat from a guy that was letting me make payments on it. Big boat, and that's the reason I wasn't able to get a job for a long time.
Yeah.
Because that's all you see when you Google my name is just bullshit about Casey Lee involved in
So
felony.
when they took, so they came, arrested you at the new place, shut you down. So let's go back real quick though, because we left part off, and maybe you don't want to talk about this, but
I don't want to talk about any of it.
when when the first one happened, they did they not just drop you off at jail and not give you a ticket?
They called it a smash and grab, and they dropped us off in jail. All of us store owners looking around like, now what? We're just all standing in a cell together, and then somebody comes up an hour later. It's like, okay, you guys can go. And we're like,
Exactly. They
wait,
don't
what?
even know why you're there,
Wait,
right?
what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And we go back to the stores. The stores are empty.
Did they take any cash?
No,
They just
not mine.
they just took everything that was in the.
No, they just took everything from the store. Well, and my stuff was in the store. My computers, all my stuff that I was like that I'd have at work, and whatnot. All my music equipment. I mean,
Now, does your silent partner get in trouble for that?
yeah.
He did. Okay.
Unfortunately, man,
Yeah. So then when you went to, okay, I just didn't want to leave that part out because that was one of the more intriguing parts of that whole story to me, to be honest. Because I'm like, that's crazy. It just came in, shut you down, dropped you off in jail, cleared you out, and said, "Hey, all right, now figure it out from here." You know what I mean? And so then you move on to your next shop, and literally the same thing happens.
yeah,
Same thing.
exact same thing. They just came in friggin', and I was so brand new. People were just kind of finding out about it, and yeah,
And so, what was their like actual reasoning for like taking your houseboat?
because
That thing was
they
huge.
said that it was bought with drug money
Okay, so because of the dispensary,
because of the
they
dispensary.
whatever. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, so that's a crazy experience. I mean, just to go through all of that because I mean, the Casey I know in high school, the one I met in ninth grade, I definitely wouldn't have predicted that. You know what I
well,
mean?
it's still the same.
Like,
Yeah, as far as guns, dude, I hate guns. I've
yeah,
always hated guns,
yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
dude, I was not the right person to go through that because it stuck with me so hard, man.
Yeah, it has it. Well, I remember back then you would even say to me sometimes, you'd be like, "Tell, I feel like these dudes are following me."
Still,
You would. You'd be like, "I'm taking back roads." You're like, "I'm taking
still.
crazy roads home to try," and they're still following me. I remember you telling me that, and honestly, it sounds like you might have been correct because it wasn't
Well,
long after
yeah, it didn't.
that.
It just didn't make sense
You
to
know?
me. Number one, that I was kind of there in that position, and then after I was done, I was analyzing everything that I'd read on those papers and everything. I'm like, well, and going back, going, oh, now I remember them following me because I mean, there was stuff that they were saying like, hey, idiot, we knew you were trying to ditch us when you turn around, and I was like, no, man, I just always forget where I was going. And that was when they came in with honey oil and stuff like that, and I'd smoked honey oil for the first time, and I was just completely gone, man.
I
Anybody
didn't know where I
follows me around,
was.
they're gonna think I'm trying to ditch them because I just sometimes I forget where I'm going. Still, follow me
Yeah.
home tonight. Guarantee it'll happen.
He said we'll both get lost.
Seriously.
Yeah. That's funny. So all right, so we moved past all this crazy weed stuff. We've already, like you said, you've already owned a damn pet store. You've already now got into the whole weed game. And now how you before I move on, how do you feel about it all being legal now? I mean, does it bug you? Does it bug you that it's just every day is what it is? And
No.
back then they're putting you through hell over it when in reality, because it's kind of like this. People say to me sometimes, "What about all these people that got locked up for petty weed stuff, Toby?" I always say, "Hey, when they did it, it was illegal." You know what I mean? I'm not here to like sugarcoat things.
Hmm.
They told you not to do it and you did it when you weren't supposed to. So that's cool, but you weren't necessarily doing that. You were riding a thin line though.
I was
That
riding the thin
you were
line,
riding the thin
but
line, but
I was
you
under the understanding that
you know
under state law, I
exactly.
was doing something legal, and
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I never just I never comprehended the fact, I guess. Then that's why I shouldn't have been there. I was too naive to comprehend that the feds could come in and just.
Yeah. I don't think we really thought that would really happen,
Mm-mm.
you know? I mean, you hear about it, you see it in movies.
Yeah,
You're like you don't think they're actually going to come for you, especially when the state's like, "Hey, go ahead."
yeah. And I don't think the state hadn't said go ahead yet. They were like, that was when
That was right then.
we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
still every day with the state with
Yeah.
everything. So, we weren't doing, I don't know.
You were being risky. You knew
Yeah,
it. You knew it.
absolutely,
And
absolutely. Like I
you
said, I
know,
would take it back every
I,
single
I don't
time.
know. We need leaders out here, man. We need people that are
I
gonna,
agree with that,
you
and
know,
I agree that there was leaders involved,
you
like
know.
Paul, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of same thing.
Yeah.
It's like as guys that just aren't. We're not cut out to freaking be treated like criminals. Because
Yeah.
we're just not. It's
After all this weed stuff happened, and then you moved on to like pretty much what? Like, where have you been for the last 10 years? I haven't talked to you in quite a while. So what have you been up to?
I kind of got to go back just to basically when COVID started because that's kind of where,
COVID.
yeah, that's kind of when I remember back
Mm-hmm.
to. I don't think I remember much
Okay.
back further past that right now. It's like right before COVID started. The woman that I was dating, uh, we had moved out to Doty, Washington, which is like this tiny little town, uh, and we had moved out there because it was $900 a month, 110 acres on this
Damn.
beautiful house, or not beautiful house, but beautiful property,
Property. Yeah.
and yeah, just a whole bunch of woods and stuff like that, and we were kind of getting used to the whole COVID thing setting in, and which was crazy, and so we decided to Doty got I got restless in Doty. I feel sorry for anything that tries to slow me down because I mean I said that to my brace the other day that I'm supposed to be wearing. It's like sorry, it's laying in the yard somewhere. I can't. I can't slow down. It's just like I love living at 100 miles an hour and I don't have to stop and smell the roses. I'll take a quick whiff when I go by, but it's like I love
Just a free spirit.
experiencing. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
experiencing. I love moving, and I don't. Ever since I left Washington, so that's what happened. We were out in Doty. COVID hit. We were kind of new dating, so we decided to get an RV and travel. which not many people do. And we had made this plan to take a trip around the United States. So to start in Washington and hit the ocean all the way around, and then hit the border back, the Canadian and Washington border back. And so we started to do that, and we got stopped in Lake Havasu because I mean COVID was crazy, bro. Every single and when we were traveling, because every single town was different. You would either walk into a town and they would look at you like you were weird if you were wearing a mask, or they would look at you weird if you
Oh,
weren't.
depending on where you were, yeah.
Totally depending, I mean,
Yeah.
town by town, and maybe even sometimes the side of town you were on. It was crazy, but everything had stopped, right? And so we're just like going through, and it was almost like you had to use caution in everywhere you went because number one, you were a new person, and everybody had kind of hunkered down by then. So that was super interesting. But then we got to Lake Havasu, and it was like,
And Havasu's where? Arizona?
yeah,
Okay.
it was like it was like COVID didn't exist. It was like people just pretended like it wasn't. What?
Everyone's
Nope.
just living normal?
You just normal,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody even freaking really skipped a beat. And so we stayed there, and we were like, I did some work down there. I got to, that's where I really kind of honed in my FPV skills. They fly that 100-mile-an-hour drone. And so I started chasing the fast speedboats that go down to Lake Havasu. And so I started filming those guys, and that was really, really cool. And kind of decided that that was something that I wanted to pursue. And so we're in Havasu, I think for like 9 months or something, just really doing fun jobs. Um, but yeah, it was like the world didn't stop. It was really, really crazy. And then after that, I started following a tattoo artist that had a wireless tattoo gun, and he's like, "I want to do adventure tattoos. Will you film me?" And I'm like, "Abso-freaking-lutely," So I had uh, met this new guy that was wanted me to travel around and do this, and I started learning what traveling was about. And I'd never left Washington, never left Olympia, just this secluded kid that got his ass kicked from that whole weed experience. And so uh, I just wanted to go, and so I started traveling with him. We were doing like tattoos with people drifting around us in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. You'd have been proud
Mm-hmm.
until we had a scare that some guy next to us was going to whip out a gun because they started talking smack. And here comes small town boy again. I wedged myself down in between the seats in the back of the car to the because he had this sporty little car.
Yeah.
I wedged myself down because he's like, "What, you got a gun?" And they start yelling back and forth. I'm like, and so I get down and I wedge myself down in between
That's
the
great.
seats. Anyway, threat's over, and they're like, "Casey, what the oh my God, how did you even get down there?" And I'm like, I can't get out. And I literally couldn't move. They had to like get people
Oh.
in there, pull chairs up, like grab people and like start wedging me out of this tiny little car that I'd shoved myself down to try and not get shot. So
You're like stuck between the
that's
seats.
just, yeah, at that point, I'm just,
Yeah.
if I'd made it through everything else, I'm not going to get shot right now.
Oh, that's
So,
funny.
yeah.
So how were you making a living out there in Havasu?
Uh,
I know you're always doing something crazy. That's why.
Yeah,
Were you
just
doing
basically
drone work?
promotional work. Yeah, I was doing video work. So
Yeah.
we were going around doing promotional work. We had hooked up with like these really cool rock hound people, and so we'd follow them around, do cool videos for their rock hound group, and then I started doing a bunch of stuff. Did some stuff for the newspaper. Did some stuff, whatever. And then that tattoo artist picked us up, and so he's like, "Let's start traveling." We started doing that, but then we were down in La Paz, Mexico. No, no, no. We were down in San Felipe, Mexico. That's where the tattoo artist lives. So we are kind of in between one of the jobs, and we are at a bar, and somebody was like, "Oh, it was so amazing seeing the whale sharks yesterday. I can't believe they're a drive away." And I'm like, "What?" I heard whale sharks, and
Yeah.
the lady's
I
like,
bet you
"Yeah,
did.
yeah, the
Yeah.
whale sharks. They're down in La Paz." And I'm like, "La Paz? That town?" And so my mind is like, I had read this book called The Girl of the Sea of Cortez when I was a kid. It's one of the only books I've ever finished. I mean, I just can't sit long enough to
Mm-hmm.
read a book. So, um, But I remembered that book was from La Paz, and I remember the giant manta rays. I remember the whale sharks they talked about, and it was by Peter Benchley. So it was like this amazing book. So I read, or I remembered that book, and I'm like, we got to go. It's a drive away. And so we left. This my poor ex, whoever that person is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm like, we got to go. And so we left that day and just started going down there. We got a couple of crystal clear kayaks and headed down the Baja Peninsula and ended up chasing the Baja racers down the Baja Peninsula because they're like, "What? You got a drone? An FPV drone?" And so I got to do this sweet work chasing the Baja racers. Those guys were crazy.
Yeah, tight.
Nobody parties harder than a group of Baja guys. I
Mm-hmm.
swear, bro. But seriously, that was a really, really, really cool experience. And then made it down to La Paz, and dude, there I am in Mexico, no passport. Uh, did not know Spanish at all. I mean, hola,
Mm-hmm.
¿cómo está?
Yeah, yeah.
And in heaven, because there's all these incredible creatures around me. So I just kind of teamed up with um, the local tourism and the local people, and just started trading for a room and board, trading for food, trading everything I wanted for just doing videos, cool videos. And they let me use the jet skis. So I'll show you a video of me riding out with these dolphins, me riding out with the manta rays, me just doing these videos all day long, and honestly living my best life, bro. It was amazing. But long story short, another opportunity wound up down there where we could have done business, and it was something that I would have had to commit for my entire life because of the weird roads and everything that it took us for that business. And I was like, nope, that's not happening. So I came back up here, and uh, and that's when I decided to get engaged.
And then what? So you're here in Olympia. You proposed to this lady, right? And you
Yeah, and
guys,
so we
and
get an idea to get some property over in
mm-hmm.
Hawaii with two other individuals. Uh,
Who doesn't want to live in Hawaii, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so we get married, have a great ceremony, have a big, beautiful family, have this big, beautiful ceremony with uh, my best friend, Rob, and her. Um, and then 2 weeks after the ceremony, um, the best man in my wedding, Rob, my best friend, and
Mm-hmm.
her both get diagnosed with cancer. Same day,
Wow. Okay.
literally the same day. Somehow they had the same doctor's appointment to check something, and it was like they both got
Yeah. What are the
diagnosed.
odds? Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so we had actually thought that she was pregnant, during the ceremony because her belly had gotten so big, but it was an 8-pound tumor.
Wow.
And so, yeah, a pound less than my son when he was
Yeah.
born.
Wow.
And he was a big ass baby.
Yeah. I was heavier than I was when I was born.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. And so, I had some serious crazy times. My best friend has pancreatic cancer,
Mm-hmm.
the big dog.
Yeah.
And then my new wife has that, cancer
Mm-hmm.
of the ovaries, or the I'm spacing it right now, but it's a she had to have a full hysterectomy.
Yeah. Okay.
And I sat down with the doctor. The doctor asked me to stay one time and talk to him. And he said, "Hey, when a woman has a full hysterectomy, it removes everything, and it's going to send her into cervical menopause, is what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just had a long-term birth control removed, and now she's full menopause. You are going to experience some very, very emotional changes, and probably some very serious shifts. And
Yeah. It's
you
gonna
know,
be
he,
drastic. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was wrong. It was way worse than
It was worse. Gotcha.
that. I'm not going to say worse. It's just
It was all he said plus some. What you're
yeah.
saying,
I
like,
mean, he said that she
yeah,
can actually lose the smell for you, whatever. So
yeah.
anyways, I stay here and I take care of her while she is Well, she has cancer. We stayed in my best friend's trailer, uh, and I'm kind of trying to be real delicate as far as, can't hold. I mean, I'm worried about my best friend. It's pancreatic cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Hers, we had the surgery. She made it through it. But I don't want to make her think I'm losing focus on her either. It was a very confusing time for me. I'm having my own stuff going on inside my head. Like my two most important people in
Mm-hmm.
my life right now are both facing life-threatening things, and so I was having a rough time. And so she got better. We started working again. So I went back to Hawaii and decided to pursue our thing that we were going to go over there, make the tiny home, do all this, because our family had given us, some money for the wedding and to
Mm-hmm.
do this with. And so I went over there and stayed for 10 days. I was in a Airbnb and had been doing amazing at the farmers market, selling these necklaces like I promised was going to happen. And then after the 10 days, I get a text saying, I have no love for you anymore.
So that was like shortly after you'd been there,
Yeah,
right? So you're talking almost 2 weeks in.
yeah.
Okay.
And so at that point, I had nothing. I was like, literally got out of the Airbnb, walking down the street, going, wait, uh, all my stuff was there. And my buddy's like, your stuff's gone. And what about the money from the wedding that we were supposed to do? And that's gone.
No way. Really? Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like walking down the street, like, yeah, that was basically it. Just no thought.
Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember leaving this video that's on Facebook. It's a scary video, because I'm panicking. You can see the panic in my face, but I'm like, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna, just chill for the night. I'm just kind of feeling blah blah, and I'm gonna stay here in this beautiful banyan tree. And as I'm saying that, this skater kid is walking by, looking back at me, listening to me, and stop the video, and I kind of kick back, and I'm watching this skater kid walk up, and he goes and talks to this other guy, and they're obviously talking about me, and I'm like, oh shit, I have a backpack full of stuff. I have a wallet full of money, and
Mm-hmm.
like $300 that I made at the market, and then some of our gift certificates from the wedding, and
Pretty much everything you have to your name,
they
right?
all start coming
Yeah.
back at me, and I have both these big ass bags, and one bag has 8 grand in camera equipment in it.
Mm-hmm.
It has my camera, it has my lenses, and everything that I brought with me to do camera work. And so they start coming back at me, and I stand up, and I've never been in a fight in my life. It was somehow at that time I was talking to my cousin Tristan. Oh, he had called because he was worried about me. And so I'm talking to my cousin Tristan. I see those guys walking at me, and I'm like, T, I'm gonna say some weird stuff here in a minute. Just go with it. And he's like, okay. And so I'm like, oh, I see you right there. Acting like he was coming to pick me up.
Yeah.
So the guys like start to run away. And I'm like, sweet. I'm thinking I'm super street smart, and I grab my bags and I start running. Well, they see me running the wrong way. I pointed, I see you guys, and I start running this way. Well, they swoop back around and they both meet me face to face.
Wow.
And they're like, we just want your bags.
Really? Oh my god.
And at that point, I'm like, hook my arms in. And I said, sorry, guys, these bags are coming to heaven with me. You
Yeah.
know? And I thought that was a real Jean Claude Van Damme thing to say.
Yeah.
But I've been told by other people, they're like, dude, you just told them there's gold in those bags. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right. That was probably so they come at me, and they instantly, because my pockets are phones here, this is here. They both grab both sides and pull me off my feet and pull my shorts down off,
Really?
and
Yeah.
I'm naked.
Wow.
Everything is exposed at this point. And I look over, and this little girl is like running up to her car, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And they drug me on my ass for about 10 feet, so I have no skin on my butt cheeks either. And so I'm like, this like crazy. I'm just like going crazy inside, thinking I'm gonna die. And this girl, a Hawaiian girl, these are two white skater kids in Hawaii attacking me, by the way.
Oh, okay.
This incredible little Hawaiian girl jumps in her car, goes, "Get the hell out of here, Howley," and almost tattoos both those skater kids. And she's going right towards them and like tries to hit them. And they're like, "Whoa." And I just grab as much as I can, grab my bags and start running down the street, yank my pants up. I'm like, try to thank that girl and run to the bar. Anyways, long story, a little bit longer. Just my cousin was on the horn, just got my ass kicked. They took all the gift cards that I gotten in the wedding. They took everything. They got the money because my wallet busted open and everything came out. They got all that, but they didn't get my camera gear. And so, I was just happy about that. Went into a bar, totally shaken and whatever. And, my cousin's like, dude, I got you a cab come because the guys were outside waiting for me to come out of the bar. He's like, I got you a Uber. He's coming. His name's Daniel. He'll be outside in 30 seconds for you. And he literally saved my life. Thank you, Tristan. You were talking about literally saved my life and got me a room at the Hilton that night. I thought I was going to be sleeping homeless on the street.
Wow.
And I went to a Hilton that night, and I will never forget.
You have some pretty good friends, I will say that.
And family,
Yeah,
that
you
was
do have some
it
good friends
built
who've
some
always had
truth.
your
And
back.
yeah,
And you actually talk to a lot of people that, like from back in the day, that are from high school and stuff. Like I don't talk to a lot of my old friends so much. They all kind of got their own way. And
hmm
so I see you talking to a lot of these people that same people you used to talk to in high
I was at
school.
Hans's
It's
yesterday.
crazy to me. I'm like, wow, he still talks to these people. That's awesome, man. I wish I talked to a lot of my old friends like that. So,
Yeah, I have to, man. They're my family. Being adopted, I kind of get to pick and choose my family.
fair enough, fair enough. So you're out here now. You got guys trying to rob you. Your ladies, your lady and your best friend have gotten cancer. Now your lady's going through all these crazy things in her head, and she's left you. Now you're out here in Hawaii by yourself, literally butt naked, getting getting your stuff taken by skaters, and you had some people come through for you, get you at least somewhere to sleep,
It
somewhere
was
warm,
amazing, bro.
warm for the night, and all that. So that's good. So now you're in Hawaii, and how long were you there for? Does
I was
things
there
get
for.
better?
I'm not gonna say better as in quality. I'm gonna say better as in learning. Every experience was a better learning experience, and everything that I went through was. It took more and more fear out of me, and it took more and more. Just it kind of kept kicking my ass, and it was the ass kicking that I needed.
Yeah.
Because it was either that or get too hyper focused on everything that I'd gone through, and I'm already an emotional person. And thinking about why, number one, why somebody would do that to me and just up and leave no answers, no, just nothing. I just didn't, still, it's just like having no closure is a very, very strange thing when you have that powerful of a feeling for somebody, and your life goes, you think it's going this way, and then all of a sudden it's just not. It's just strange.
No, that's a big part of it. The whole closure thing falls into many different categories as far as like I mean, like a good example, like people say their kid goes missing
Yeah,
and they never find their kid again. It's
yeah,
like it's one thing to not know where your child is.
yep,
It's another to never have any kind of closure. To
yep,
ever be told, you know, they passed away or they got sick of you and they ran away. You know what I mean? Like it could be many things, but it's sad to not know what it is. I mean, I have a cat that died one time and I remember my cat went missing. I came home from work one day. My cat never saw my cat again.
yeah,
That's bugged me ever since, and that's just a cat.
yeah,
But it still bugs me because I don't know what happened to him. Like I don't know if coyotes got him,
yeah,
if he just lives with the old lady two houses down. Like
yep,
I don't know where he's at. But it's always bugged me just not knowing. So
yeah,
I understand the whole closure thing, man. There's got to be some kind of like,
yeah. Because it takes when it's something like that, it makes you insecure
mm-hmm,
because you're like, if somebody's just gonna up and bolt like that, and
yeah,
just when you think that there's love going on, you think that there's all these emotions, and then there's just not. There's no trust left. There's nothing left inside of me where I'm like, what do I do now? Because I don't know. I did.
hard for you to trust again.
Yeah,
It's hard for you to have any faith
yeah,
in loving somebody again because you're
yeah,
like, I don't know if it's even worth it, you
yeah.
know, if this kind of stuff's gonna happen. So yeah, I get it. It's definitely not good for your mental
No,
and
no. But
Not good for your confidence.
that's why Hawaii was necessary. You know, I spent those time. I literally spent it living in the jungle, and I went there hell bent on having my first hunting experience. I wanted to get my first pig,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do it bow and arrow. So I actually bought a bow and arrow for the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good one. You're gonna want to hear this. So I bought this bow and arrow, and so my those amazing people that let me stay at their house, um, I'm there doing work, building this rock stairs and stuff like that, and I hear this rustling in the woods, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And this family of pigs comes tromping through right in front of me, and I'm like, oh, get them. Who says get them? You know, and so I like reach down and grab two rocks, the closest thing I can find to me, and I start stalking these things like a predator. Like what? Now that I think back on it and I'm talking about it, it's a little bad shit. But so I started stalking these things, and I'm like going, like this, and they circle into the woods, and I'm like, shoot, they left, and then I hear them coming back the same way, and so mom's coming with this big ass teenager, and I'm like, I got that teenager. I can't take mom, but I got that teenager, and that's big enough to eat. He's like, stood that tall, that long, not a small pig in my
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So I freaking wind up. He comes right in front of me. I wind up, boom, and dink bounces off his spine and snaps it, and he drops
Wow.
right in front of me, and I'm like, not expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh God, mom. I think mom's gonna come kill me because I've heard all the stories about the crazy pig stories. They're just mean pigs. They got the big tusks. They're not pigs. They're wild boars.
Yeah.
And so, but she luckily bolted because of all the commotion. And so I run and grab the little baby, not little baby, but the big pig, and drag him out of the woods and had my thank you moment with him. And there was my intro to hunting.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
put, put the pictures up online of the pig hanging from
Yeah.
the tree because I'm real proud of myself.
There you
And
go.
people are like, what the? I'm like, oh
I had a friend invite me over to New Year's one time, and he was doing a pig, and he's like, "Look, the guest of the I was gonna say the man of the hour type deal has
yeah,
showed up and had a pig on the table," and I was like, "Oh hell no!" But he was alive. He was still alive, and I was like, I don't know, I've never been there during. Like I've had pig. I've been to luau's. I've never been there when they were doing like literally starting from the beginning. We'll just leave it at that.
yeah,
Right? I
absolutely.
haven't been to all
Yeah,
that. So
it's a brutal process. That's
yeah,
one thing I had to. I mean, especially when you're YouTubing it for the first time, you get your phone going right here, and you're like ready for surgery,
yeah,
and so you're looking at the phone, and it doesn't look nearly as savage as what you're about to do. And then, dude, just you go in,
yeah.
and oh man, it's it's rough.
That's brutal.
It is rough. You can't
Yeah,
let any of the feces touch the meat. So the process of keeping the feces from touching the meat is
yeah,
horrible. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
yeah,
The smell, ungodly. It's just like it's a savage process, and it was good for me because I needed to go through it. Not something I'm going to be doing a lot.
yeah.
It's just,
I don't even like gutting fish, but
yeah.
yeah,
But
but yeah,
yeah, man, it was cool for me to be able to experience it that way, to take an animal with my bare hands.
yeah,
Made me feel good because I'm never going to shoot an animal. Um, I just, it was hard enough for me to get used to the fact that I'm gonna use a bow and arrow, but that was
yeah.
cool just for my first hunt. And then I took another one after with a crossbow,
Mhm.
which was much more of a hunting experience, and it was also very cool. I got to smoke it, and we had tons and tons of meat, and so again, got to pay my respect to the animal. At that time, had to gut a big pig, which was
Yeah,
much more traumatizing. We're not even going to that, but
yeah.
yeah, it was,
Wow. Yeah, I never been through nothing like that. That's for sure.
yeah,
Like I said, I tried to hunt deer when I was 11, and as soon as I saw my stepdad shoot it in the head, and then it took off. Actually, it shot in the neck, started running. Our dog chased it down, and
mm,
but I was like, whoa! And all I could think of was I'm ready to go hunt. Like I spent the whole summer shooting this little
Yes.
fake deer in my backyard
Yes,
with
nothing prepares
with a
you.
bow, with a gun.
Same
I was
here.
good. I had all that stuff down, and we get out there, and he's like, "Oh, I see one. I see one." I'm like, "Yeah, I see it too." But he's like, "I swear to God, this is just a deer eating leaves with just straight sun rays coming through the woods. I can literally picture the rays down as he's just
Yeah.
eating leaves, minding his own business. He's in heaven. He's just literally just chilling.
Yeah.
And we sneak up on this guy. We're like 15 yards away, and I'm like looking at him, and he doesn't even know we're there. And he's just minding his own business. And I'm like, man, you should run. Like I almost want to like step on a stick or something, so he knows we're there. And he ends up shooting him, and I decided that day that I just don't really want to be a hunter. That's when I knew that like it wasn't for me because I felt so much empathy for the damn deer that I couldn't even figure out why we were out there. And I was ready until that point. But once we got there, I was an 11-year-old kid, and I was like, I don't want to do this, Steve. And Steve's like, you big pussy.
I
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I am a pussy. I'm like, I don't like this shit, bro.
I
So
I,
it was
I,
like,
th- I think it made it a little easy. No, I'm
I
not
was
going to
just
say
a kid,
easier.
but
It made it a different experience for me. The fact that what I was going for was not cute, was not anything. It could come back and kick my ass if I don't, or
yeah,
or literally kill me. I
yeah,
saw one that I called the Hog Father. That was the
yeah.
largest creature. I'm not even
The
calling it a
hog
pig,
father.
bro.
Yeah,
It looked like a Kodiak bear. It
yeah.
was massive and it had these tusks that like came out and like almost wrapped back and touched his head. Dude, and
Are they
those things
everywhere in Hawaii?
everywhere. They're infesting that island. It's so
Really?
sad. Yeah, they tear up
Wow.
all. They're a feral species, and they tear up all the native
They're a pain in the ass.
vegetation. They kill a lot of the local wildlife, and
Wow.
it's just like
Okay.
yeah, they're. So that's another reason. I was also helping to cull the population
Sure.
of an invasive species, but still, you don't really think about that when everything else is going on.
You know what I always wanted to see in Hawaii was like the lava
Dude,
going
it's going
in.
off right now.
The lava like goes into the
It's
water.
going off right
It's
now.
the coolest looking thing. I seen that.
Have you seen the
I'm like,
videos? It's
wow.
unreal. There's this massive eruption right where I lived.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've just seen clips from the internet that were just lava dumping into the water, and it's the coolest looking thing. I'm like, what the hell is
Dude,
that?
she
So.
started, and she started the day that I left, and I call her she, the volcano.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is because I'm glad that we get to talk about this. There's visiting Hawaii, there's vacationing to Hawaii,
Hmm.
and then there's living in Hawaii. And they are 100% two different things, completely. When you vacation there, when you go there, you take complete advantage. I don't care who you are, and you take it for granted. I don't care who you are. You just do and you don't know it.
Hmm.
Because when you live there and you get to meet those people and you get to meet that culture and you get to experience life there and like and hear about their history and like be accepted into their families and like have that island accept you and hear about aloha aina and hear about the just everything beyond what you would ever even think
Yeah.
to look for when you're there as a guest and just vacationing. You know, it's a place that calls me back now. Just living there because it's like it's such it's just so different living there. Those people are so amazing that just listening to the radio there is so different. It's all happy.
So you'd like to move back there eventually?
Oh, I don't know about move back there. I would have said that, yes, a few months ago. But now I think I'd like to just keep traveling. Costa Rica is going to be my 50th anniversary or my 50th birthday
Yeah.
is going to be in Costa Rica.
Okay.
So, that's what I set for this year. I'm 49. Next year I'm going to be in Costa Rica. I'm going to check out down there because I know more about Costa Rican wildlife than I do about Washington wildlife,
Yeah.
you know.
You are now here for a while in Washington. You think you're gonna be here for a while?
If this new venture pans out, absolutely. Because I feel like there's a possible new venture in the books that if this finally something is going to come to fruition of a good idea that I've had that could really turn into something, that would make a lot of the hard crap that I went through worth it, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's been about an hour. It's time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
letting me
you.
babble, dude. I
Yeah,
feel
no,
like
I
I
appreciate you being on the show. This is the first episode, so it's awesome that you were here.
absolutely.
Like I said, we're just trying to find everyday people that have stories to tell.
Yeah.
I knew you'd be a great way to start it off,
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah, for
I,
sure.
I appreciate you. I do have one question I want to ask everybody on this show before they leave. If you could go back and talk to 18-year-old Casey all over again right now, what would you say to him?
Love many, trust few, but always paddle your own canoe.
Well, there you have it.
You know, it's just like there's so much in life you can experience and whatnot, and there's so many good people. But I used to run around trying to make everybody my friend, and I don't do that anymore because you got to be cautious. You know, not everybody is your friend.
Yeah.
And trust is a very valuable thing. Hold on to it when you have it. Because it's just like, but always make sure that if you have to, you can paddle your own canoe. I mean, because otherwise you're just up shit creek without a paddle. It's like
There's always people that you think you can trust and people that you know you can trust. Those
exactly.
are just two different people, right?
Yeah.
And when you know that you can trust somebody, it's a whole different thing. That's family, right?
Absolutely. Your
So,
your instinct kicks in right about age of like 30, I think, and
yeah.
you start realizing that you start running on instinct instead of knowledge, so much. And then that's one thing that you can really start pinpointing the good from the bad is with that instinct. Listen to your instinct, don't listen to your heart.
I mean, I have old friends that were really close to me, really good friends, but I look back and I sometimes I wonder if they were ever really that good a friend to begin
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
So, you know, there's just different levels to this stuff at the
yeah.
end of the day. So, anyway, like I said, thanks for coming on the showcase.
Absolutely. Thank you, bro. It's
Wouldn't
it's
be
good to
so
get some of that stuff off my chest,
for sure, for sure. And do you have anything that you would like to tell the people at home? I know you have a new venture. Do you want to say anything about that, or are
No,
you
man,
good?
I want people to honestly support this guy. This guy's been working his ass off for as long as I've known him, and he's got this incredible studio now. He's got this incredible thing going on, and everybody that does know you, dude,
Yeah.
you're a good guy. You got some, and he's got his instinct going too. He's gonna pick some good people to have on this show and some real interesting stuff. And I'm just excited to see what happens with it, man. You're one of my faves, so.
Thanks, Case. I appreciate it. So, thanks for watching the American Enlightenment Podcast. We will be doing at least one podcast a week. We will try to do more than that, but if you like to hear everyday stories from everyday people and you want to be enlightened, you're in the right place.
This is it.
Yep. I'll see you later. Peace.